Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pageant Sit Down. My name's Regina Lena, and I am so excited for you all to be here. So excited I almost forgot what I was going to say. Not only is it episode 20 of Pageant Sit Down, which I think is insane, but I also have a very special guest on here today. She is my pageant sister since 2013. And in fact, she actually has 2 titles that she won during 2020. So I would like to introduce all of you to the reigning Miss Northern Alberta 2020 and Miss Tourism World Canada 2020, Samantha Fraughton. Hi, Samantha.
Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show. I am so excited for you to be my 20th guest. It's so surreal to say that. That's 2 decades, if you think about it in years, but it's 20 people. So I'm really excited to have you on here. And for those who don't know you, Sam, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been competing in pageants for, I guess, 10 years. I started out doing Miss Teen Alberta, which is the pageant that fed into Miss Teen Canada. So I competed there with a bunch of really lovely ladies. I started, I guess, when I was 17, and I just turned 28, so it's been almost a full decade. From there, I did Miss Earth Canada in 2013 with Regine. I did it a second time again in 2015. I've done Miss World Canada under the old system and placed in the top 15, and I've done Miss Universe Canada twice. This most recent time, I placed in the top 5. And that's where I won my title here, Miss Tourism World Canada. And other than that, aside from pageants, I'm a law student. I'm in my final semester and I'm almost done. So I'm just about ready to graduate an article and be a lawyer. And I guess that is a little bit about me.
That is amazing. I love seeing watching your pageant journey. Like I said off the top, I've known you since 2013 and it was such an amazing experience. We competed together in 2017. Which I know you were so close to not doing, but I'm so happy that you did because it was so great to have a familiar face there.
I agree.
How was it? Because you've been competing and you've also competed twice during a pandemic. How was that?
It was crazy, honestly. I mean, when you've done pageants for this long, like you kind of know what to expect. And I personally knew what I wanted to improve on. I knew kind of the direction that I wanted to go. And unfortunately, the pandemic definitely put a little bit of a wrench in my plans, but I've been really fortunate. I've got an excellent personal trainer here in Edmonton where I live. Her name's Kira Hickey, and we trained together outside during the pandemic. So we didn't really have to go into a gym. So that was great. I was able to achieve my fitness goals that I wanted going into Miss Calgary, which is where I won Miss Northern Alberta. And there was also a gown designer who I've known for a little while, who lives a little bit outside Edmonton, and he was really great as well, making me a couple incredible gowns that I wore, one at Miss Northern Alberta, and the other one I took with me to MUC. So I was actually really fortunate in this pandemic that although, it's difficult to wear a mask when you're competing, you feel like you can't really give your full performance, I did have a really outstanding support system. So my pageant prep was actually pretty similar to what it would have been, I would say. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know when you came here to Toronto for Miss Universe Canada, I really wanted to see you, and I know if there was not a pandemic, I totally would have. What was it like at Miss Universe Canada? Because it's one of the biggest pageants here in Canada, one of the biggest names in Canada for pageantry. What was it like with the safety of the girls? And I know you all wore your masks and your mingle masks. What was it like?
It was definitely interesting. So, I mean, because you've done pageants, Regine, and anybody else who has will know that pageants are a very, very collegial activity. I was seeing friends that I haven't seen since Miss Teen Canada. We've grown up, we've gone different directions. My friend Kelsey, who was my roommate at Miss Teen Canada, she was off traveling the world. She was a flight attendant, and I was seeing her again. And my friend Sophie from Miss Teen Canada is now a physician. So, these are friends that I was really excited to see. And I think the biggest hurdle was trying to stay distant from one another. I think I had friends from every pageant that I've ever done here at MUC, and we all had to have our mingle masks, which was really good because then at least we could still be expressive with our faces, but needing to stay socially distant from one another was definitely a huge challenge. But we all had to get a COVID test before we went to the pageant. So we were all safe, and the MUC organization did a really good job to keep us coming to events kind of like in increments and keeping us separated, and had lots of precautions with the hair and makeup team. Everybody had a mask or a face shield. So we were definitely safe. It's just unfortunate that in an event where all you want to do is just be close with your friends, we couldn't be close physically.
Oh man. But I mean, you also competed in Alberta, and then you came to Toronto. I feel like Alberta, you've had less cases in your province, your entire province, than we've had in the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
So, what was it? Was there a huge difference when you did the Northern Alberta pageant versus the Miss Universe Canada pageant?
No. So in Alberta, the whole province was in the same phase of lockdown at the time of the Miss Calgary competition as when I came to MUC. So there really wasn't a huge difference. Like, we didn't think there was even going to be a pageant in Alberta at all. But by the time something did kind of materialize, we were really lucky, and our director Lisa found a venue where we could have, an appropriate number of people, and there was enough space for us to be distant and not break any guidelines. So if anything, it was actually very, very similar. It was the same, where I take your mask off to compete, mask on otherwise, and yeah, it's not the experience anybody wants. Part of being in a pageant is being in front of an audience. I think that's what a lot of us really look forward to. It's not just about being in a swimsuit in front of a judge. It's about doing it in front of a whole bunch of people and, doing your performance. So, it's not quite the experience that we wanted, but everybody involved really went the extra mile to make it work.
That's amazing. I also know that because I was waiting to watch and for Miss Universe Canada, and it was pushed back.
Yes.
What was that like for you? Because you placed top 5, you have a new title, you can't say it to anyone. How was that for you? Because I was dying. I was like, did Sam win? Like, somebody tell me. Like, nobody's responding.
I was dying too, and it was really funny. We thought that the stream was going to go up that night, and bless our tech man, who really did his best, but at the end of the day, it was one guy trying to get the stream up and going. So we, had all planned to sit together and watch the stream. I mean, sit together as much as you can, but
yeah.
Sit apart and watch the stream. I was fielding questions from my parents, from my sister, from my boyfriend, from my roommates. Everybody was, even, like my coach and my personal trainer, everybody behind me was texting me saying, what's going on?
I think I texted you too. I'm like, Sam, what's happening? Why aren't you responding?
And, I can't lie. I did enjoy, I guess I enjoyed a little bit of keeping everybody in the dark, thinking, all these people are, wanting to know how I did. And I thought, like, the dream is like still alive a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very difficult. But we contestants had a super, super fun time. We had a big celebration for Nova, and we had a blast. So even though everybody was like, what's going on? We contestants were having a really fun time.
That's awesome. Did they put you under oath? Like, you will not tell anyone what the results are?
I would say it was kind of unspoken. I think nobody really wanted to spoil the surprise. We all wanted to make sure that Nova got her moment. And, I think even that Tamara got hers. Like, the top 2 is really important. I think all of us wanted to keep it secret for the sake of everybody.
Oh my gosh. There was a bunch of us streaming, but we were all FaceTiming at the same time, and sometimes it was insane, and we're like, what's happening? And it was so stressful, but I'm just really excited that you play so high, especially now that you're at the cutoff age. I'm just so grateful to see your journey and know that you made top 5 with the new title of Miss World Tourism Canada.
Thank you.
What's happening with that? Are you competing internationally? What happens next?
Well, things are still pretty up in the air with COVID, is I think the short answer. My friend Svetlana, who is right now Miss World Canada, she went to this competition last year. She was the rep sent from Canada. So we had a really good chat. This pageant is in China. And we talked a little bit about how it works and things like that. But the date isn't really finalized yet. So I'm still waiting to find out what's going on with this competition. But if it goes, And, if that happens, then it's going to be in China.
That's amazing. I'm really excited to see what happens and just to continue following your journey.
Thank
So,
you.
Sam, you've now done many, like more than I have, in terms of in-person pageants and in-person pageants during the pandemic. Would you ever do a virtual pageant?
I absolutely would. I actually think a virtual pageant is fun in a lot of different ways. I think the ability to like get the perfect take is almost like filmmaking. You know, the way that you can do your walk until you like it, you can film it 30 times and get just the perfect one is, I think, a ton of fun in a way that you don't get when you're in person. You know, it's when you're in person, you get what you get. All the preparation leads up to one try. And as somebody who has a background in film and theater, I can appreciate, I guess, like the difference. So I totally would. I think virtual pageants are a ton of fun. And I still think it's a way to build collegiality and to do all the fun of pageants. And it's just not in person, but totally I would.
But do you feel like there's more pressure on the women because you've now filmed yourself? You've submitted the best take that you can. Don't you feel like that's more pressure?
I don't know. I think it's probably the same amount of pressure. Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of pressure either way. Sitting backstage waiting for your turn. Like, how often have you thought to yourself, like, this has to be the best swimsuit walk I've ever done?
Every
how
time.
many times have you stood before they call your name and you think, this is it. this is my one shot. So I think there's pressure in both situations.
That's true. That's fair. I was just curious because you've now competed throughout this pandemic,
Yeah.
but you've also been a student during this pandemic and
Yes.
finishing law school.
Yeah.
How was it balancing pageant prep, schoolwork, law school work of all things? Like, how was that for you?
It was difficult. Full disclosure, it was very, very difficult. I've been very lucky, so I'm not attending school in person right now. My university has moved completely online, and most of my professors pre-record their lectures, so I can just watch them anytime. So the closer it got to pageant time, the more I just decided to put those lectures off, and I would get them and I would catch up on them after the pageant. I actually watched a couple of them on the plane to and from Toronto, watched a few there, got a little bit caught up, but it all worked out really well. I am no stranger to being a student. I've been in university for 8 years. So I knew it was going to be hard to do a very, very full-time pageant prep schedule along with being, I was confident that if I kind of like stayed ahead of the curve leading up to the pageant, that I would be able to kind of bounce back. And I did. I finished with a really strong semester, and I definitely don't think that doing the pageant hurt me academically in any way.
That's awesome. Well, it's great that you were able to catch up. And I think it kind of benefited you this time because I remember MUC in 2017, you were conflicted because of school and of the pageant. So it's kind of great that it worked out where you could just do school on your own time this time.
Yeah, it was great. And part of that, I think, is when I did MUC in 2017, I was banking on being accepted into law school pretty well, like 6 months after the competition. And so I thought, if I were to win any international title, I don't know if I can handle first year law school and taking off to go to an international competition. But it did really work the opposite way for me this time, knowing that I'm in a pandemic. And I thought, I'm almost done. And I thought to myself, if I win a title that requires me to maybe postpone my studies, I would have far less of a problem doing that now, as opposed to right at the very beginning of a law degree. So yeah, it was great.
So you mentioned earlier that you were a theater kid. How did you go from theater to law?
Oh my
Because I see theater and pageantry working hand in hand, but how did you go from that to law?
I'm actually asked this question all the time. Yeah, so I have a drama degree, and I think that they go hand in hand. I think theater and law are two sides of the same coin. I really do. Theater is it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading, and it isn't a lot of memorization, which is what people think, but it's just a lot of understanding and interpreting text, because that's what you need to be a good actor or director, or to be really any role in the theater. And I feel that skill has translated quite well into law, where it's the same thing. You're reading a huge amount of material, and there's a lot of time spent asking, what so this is the outcome of the case, but what does it mean for the law? Where is the law going from here? What's the new direction? What can I learn from this? And similarly, I guess, doing what we call moot court, which is kind of like practice court for law students, where you have to go and speak in front of a judge. I think that theater skills have prepared me quite well for doing that. So awesome. I actually think that they really go together. I don't know. There are not a ton of theater students turned lawyers, but I believe they go together.
Well, there you go. It's interesting to hear you say that, because I would have never thought that they would go hand in hand, but I guess I was wrong. So thank you for clarifying that.
No worries.
So Sam, you've been doing pageants. Actually, I just said, hey Sam. So I'm curious, did you ask them to put Sam on your sash? Because your name is Samantha. How did that work out?
This is the silliest story maybe of all time. So way back in 2017, the first time I did Miss Universe Canada, I had some email exchanges with the MUC team, and after a few emails, I signed it off just as Sam. A few, signed Samantha, and then I just signed it Sam, because in my day-to-day life, I do primarily go by Sam. I have no problem with Samantha, but a little bit informal. And from that point forward, I was Sam. The emails from the organization to me always said, like, Dear Sam. And then when I got there, my sash said Sam.
So wait, this started back in 2017
Yes.
Up until now? Oh my goodness.
And
that's crazy.
I thought, now that I'm competing again, I will make sure I sign all my emails Samantha. Still, hi Sam, thanks so much for your confirmation package. See you in Toronto. And then my sash said Sam again.
Oh my goodness. They should have just given you the same, or just brought your same sash. That's so crazy. I was just curious, because even when we were talking, I was like, should I put Samantha or Sam on all my social media posts? So interesting.
Yeah.
So ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching and your name is Samantha, make sure if you want your sash to have your name on it, all your signatures should say Samantha on it.
Too informal. Otherwise, your sash will have your nickname on it.
Forever. Oh my God, I love that. No, I was just curious. But okay, back to my question. You've been competing in pageants for 10 years. What got you into pageantry to begin with?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. Oh, I love this. So I was 17, and I think I was mostly interested in modeling, but my body wasn't quite right. At 17, if you don't look like a gazelle, then the odds of you modeling are pretty low. So I really wanted to model, but I had and I was really into musical theater. I loved to be the center of attention, and I was always like a very athletic, athletic kid in high school. So I remember seeing an ad one day for, at the time, what was Miss Teen Canada World. And I thought to myself, a pageant. I thought, I feel like I could be Miss Teen Canada World. And, the ad said something like, are you smart, driven, ambitious? And I read it and I thought, yes, I am. I'm all of these things. So I thought about it for a long time. And I finally brought it up with my parents. I said, I think I want to do this. And that's when my mom said to me, oh, that's really funny, because I competed in Miss Teen Edmonton when I was young. So I guess like mother, like daughter. And so I just decided to go for it. And at the first pageant, I made a ton of friends. I had a fantastic time. The girl who won Miss Teen Alberta, Alexandra Hanash, we're still friends. We've been friends for a long time. So that was really exciting. But I remember coming away from the first one saying to myself, pageants are about preparation. There isn't some like mystery about who wins. It's not about the most beautiful girl winning. It's about preparation. So going into Miss Teen Canada, I said to myself, I can prepare myself and win. And I didn't, but that was really what kept me coming back, was, can I be so prepared that I win?
And here you are now, fifth runner, or top 5 of Miss Universe Canada. 2 titles in 2020. That's amazing. It's so interesting that your mom competed in pageants, but it makes sense because your family is so supportive of you competing. I know every time we've seen each other, your parents are always so supportive.
Yeah.
How excited were they to see you win both titles this past year?
Oh, they were so excited. Yeah, they were really excited. They knew that this was my last chance doing MUC, and we had lots of check-ins. I mean, my parents live a little further away from me, so I didn't ever want to go up and see them and put them in danger. We're trying to stay distant, but lots of check-in phone calls. Okay, do you have enough gowns? Do you need to get a tan? Do you need fake eyelashes? Like, do you have everything you need?
I love that.
And yeah, I really do have very, very supportive, very intense pageant parents, and they supported me like more than I thought was even possible. I could not have done it without them. So it was sad that we couldn't be together, because I normally do go out to my parents' house and I unpack all my suitcases and I put on every outfit, and my mom kind of helps me. Well, she did this time as well, but it's just not quite the same. But yeah, they're very, very, very supportive.
That's awesome. And you have a sister. Does your sister do pageants? I don't remember the answer to that.
She has done pageants, and she's done with them forever. She had a really unfortunate experience internationally and said no more. But she's very supportive of me doing pageants, and we have lots of good conversations about them. And yeah, she's always supportive of me. She watched the live stream, but she herself, her pageant days are over. She's retired.
Oh, well, hopefully maybe one day, because, there are different age divisions now when it comes to pageants. So maybe one day she'll get the bug or the itch from you and want to compete again. Which leads me to my next question. So you've now said that you've aged out of Miss Universe Canada. Will you ever compete again after Miss World Tourism?
Oh yeah, I would compete tomorrow if I could. If I wasn't in the very tail end of my semester, I would compete like that. I can't wait to just keep finding more pageants. I know that Galaxy has a division that would fit my age, so 100%. That's on my checklist. I don't have any plans to get married, so at this point in my life, so my Mrs. Pageants are not quite in the picture, but I'm very interested in continuing to compete. It's something that once you've started, I think is hard to shake off.
100%. Well, I mean, you, your mom, and your sister, 3 pageant girls in the family. Do you ever see your family, or you and your sister and your mom, competing together at a multi-division pageant one day?
It'd be so fun. I'm not sure that we will. I think, well, my sister lives in Vancouver now, and I'm in Alberta, so she's a little bit further away, but that would be a ton of fun. I don't know if that day will ever come for the 3 of us, but that would be a blast for sure.
I think it would be awesome. So I'm going to use Galaxy as an example because I'm Ms. Galaxy Canada. I think it'd be amazing to have a Ms. Alberta, Ms. Vancouver, and then Mrs. Alberta. I don't know what mom is. I think that would be amazing to see, and just really team at Galaxy this year in all divisions.
Oh yeah.
So I think it could happen.
Maybe. I'll let you know if it does.
Awesome. But yeah, so there are a lot of members of Team Alberta for Galaxy this year. Is there a huge pageant community in Alberta?
That's kind of a hard question. I don't really know, because I'm rarely the only one from Alberta. In all the times I've done pageants, in fact, I don't think I've ever been the only one from Alberta. Like at MUC this year, we had I think 5. At MUC the previous time, there were a few. There was a handful. I don't know if there's necessarily a strong pageant community here, but we're really lucky to have Lisa Harrigan in Calgary, who is a phenomenal and very well-established pageant coach. And she also runs very fair, very well-organized, just excellent caliber pageants herself. And we've also she runs the Miss Calgary pageant, which has been going for decades and decades. So I guess a small community, but we're blessed to have some really good talent with Lisa. So I think part of that is where the strong competitors come from.
I was just curious because when we did Miss Earth Canada together, there were so many girls. A lot of the girls are from Ontario, but then the second most was Alberta. And so I was just curious. So, there must be a strong Alberta pageant community. I was just curious. I just think it's great.
Yeah, I do. I think it's great too.
That's awesome. Well, we're actually almost at the halfway point. It's so crazy to think because I feel like we just started talking. So Samantha, there is a segment on the show which is 5 tips from a beauty queen, which I know you are familiar with. So I'm just curious, as our 20th beauty queen on the show, what are your top 5 pageant tips for any pageant hopeful?
Oh, I can't wait. I've been waiting to do this from the first episode. Okay, so my first tip is you need to watch pageants. Especially as somebody who's never entered a competition before, you need to watch pageants so you can get a sense of what a pageant is. Watch a lot and pay attention to really who holds your attention and why. Pageants are a performance construction. Every single detail that you see on stage has been really thought out. And you want to start noticing exactly the way somebody turns, the way they walk, how they pose, how they're styled. And the best way to do that is just start watching competitions and start really paying attention to that kind of thing. My second tip is ask yourself why you're entering, because then you'll know what you want to get out of it. And I would say that there are as many different reasons for entering pageants as there are women who compete. So I entered my first pageant for a whole bunch of different reasons. I just really wanted to be the center of attention, and I, felt like I couldn't model. But I entered my second one, like I said earlier, because I wanted to win based on preparation. So I think it's really important that you ask yourself why you're entering a pageant, because otherwise you won't really know what you're going to get out of it. And for your first time, I think that's extra important, is to ask, why do I want to do this? My third tip, and this might be the most important one, is to find a mentor or a coach. So I would say reach out to somebody who has done pageants before. Or a coach. I've definitely provided insight and guidance on pageants. That would be more of like a mentorship kind of role, whereas Lisa in Calgary would be a coach. So it's important to find somebody who can kind of show you the ropes and who can maybe who's been in that pageant before or who's competed before and can kind of tell you what's the right way to present yourself and can offer second opinions on wardrobe and things like that. And even aside from finding somebody in person who can help you out, it's also important to find like a mentor in famous pageants, I guess. So when I talk about watching pageants, when I first started, I really, really loved Miss Universe 2010, Hamina Navarrete. She was kind of my inspiration. I thought she was so beautiful and so just like well-spoken and incredible on stage. And later in my life, as I started to do more pageants, I always thought about Sahar Binney, Universe Canada 12. So, it's important to find somebody, and I guess find somebody that you want to emulate is what I'm really trying to say. So a coach or a mentor, as well as find somebody that you can really look up to who is like an international competitor. My fourth tip is practice all the categories and film yourself. So it can be really helpful to do side-by-sides of yourself with footage of somebody that you really admire. For this past time that I competed in MUC, I spent a lot of time watching the Miss Thailand competitors. There's just a way that a bunch of them were walking, and I watched probably hours, for like a full 24 hours, if I had to add up all the amount of time I spent watching clips of them walking. And that's so I could film myself and do a side-by-side. I'd play myself on my laptop, I'd play the Miss Thailand contestants on my phone, and I would say, what are they doing? How are they moving their bodies, and how can I do that? So filming yourself and comparing yourself to international queens can be really, really helpful first starting out. Interviews are often not filmed, but you definitely can still record yourself answering questions. You can look at your body language, look at the way you present yourself, listen to the content of your answers, and that's a really good way to help yourself get better. And my final tip is be really, really honest with yourself. So in pageants, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're volunteering to compare yourself to others. And that's something that I think a lot of girls overlook, is you're putting yourself in a situation where you're breeding comparisons. You're comparing yourself every minute to the other contestants. So before competing, I think it's really important to ask, what are your strengths? And what about yourself would you like to change or improve? And I think you need to kind of reckon with these parts of yourself, because there's always somebody who's intimidating. Like I think about when I first started competing, this sounds so silly now, but I was really insecure about my height because I know that a lot of women that do Miss Universe and a lot of like well-known pageant competitors, and especially in the pageant that I was competing in, the winners are often 5'8" or taller. And I'm like 5'8", 5'7", 7.5. And especially when, I think about like Natalie Carrier, whom I competed with, who's well over 6 feet in her heels. She's just like a gazelle. And I remember like looking up and thinking like, oh boy, I hope that height isn't a factor in who wins. There are a lot of like really tall, really beautiful models here, and that's not quite me. So it's important before you go to really like reckon with those things about yourself that maybe you're not super comfortable with, because you have to feel comfortable going into a situation where it's nothing but comparisons. And that's something that I think is very, very important, is if you are a little insecure in the swimsuit round, you've got to really like be honest with yourself, and you have to, I guess, like focus and be mentally strong, because there's always going to be a girl that you look at and think, oh boy, I don't look like that. And that's just not a healthy mindset. So when it's your first time, you've got to think about those things. And those are my tips.
Those are awesome tips. I was actually writing notes while you were talking. And I just think it's amazing. You're now the 20th guest. Everyone has given something so different, and I think it's amazing. You mentioned you watch a lot of Thai beauty queens. Did you watch Miss Grand International?
This most recent one? I didn't watch like the full competition, but I was following like pretty closely. I was definitely paying attention. Yeah, that was a crazy.
Did you follow Miss Thailand? Yes.
She was on fire. It was a strong year. Like that competition, I thought like, I don't even know like who's gonna win.
Right. It was so scary to watch, and just to see that the top 3 ended up tying 3 ways, that was incredible. Wow. But yeah, I was just curious if you followed, because you follow Thai beauty queens. But I did have a question from Instagram. You answered the first part, which was asking about the competition. But the next question was, what is your favorite competition to compete in? So like your favorite segment.
Oh, my favorite part? Oh, that is such a difficult question. I would say, oh, that's so hard. I don't even know how to answer that. Okay, I'm just gonna have to pick something.
Or rank them. Okay, interview.
Okay,
I was gonna say rank them from your least favorite to your most favorite.
Okay. Evening gown used to be my favorite. When we did Miss Earth Canada, I actually won Best in Evening Gown. I won it both times that I competed in that pageant. Evening gown isn't so much my favorite anymore. I guess that like early on in my pageant career, I kind of like figured out how to do the evening gown competition, and then it became not really a challenge anymore. So we'll say interview is the number one favorite thing for me. That's where I feel impressive. That's where I feel confident. I feel like I can flex a lot of different parts of my personality. And I often tell, I do a little bit of coaching as well, and I often tell, especially teens, you need to feel almost like you're playing something, and you need to feel like no matter where the judge hits the ball or how fast it's coming to you, you can hit it back like with confidence. And I do feel that way about interview. There's not a lot of times that I feel stuck or feel like I don't have anything to say. That's number one. Swimsuit number 2. Swimsuit is so it's so fun. Like when in life do you get to like parade around in a swimsuit in, like the fittest that I've ever been is my pageants, and I just feel so good about myself. I feel fantastic. I know I've like every crunch, every push up has been worth it. To just feel like really confident about yourself, and in normal non-COVID circumstances, then there's a crowd that cheers. Like that's amazing. So first interview, then swimsuit, then evening gown, and then the onstage question is my least favorite. I think it's actually my favorite to watch. I love watching other people's onstage questions. And again, this used to be my favorite. Back when we did Miss Earth, I loved the onstage question. But I think it's so unpredictable, and it's also so hard to prepare for. And it comes so late in the competition. Like the intensity is building because you're getting closer to a winner, but I also think there can be a little bit of a sense of burnout. You've been giving it your all in the other sections, and by the time you get to onstage question, at least this time at MUC, I remember thinking, like, oh boy, like, can I do this again? do I have it in me? I've got to like dig deep and here I was pretty trained. So that is my least favorite. But I think it's incredible to watch a really good onstage question. Like Miss Universe last year, watching the top 5 answers was unreal. And even being at MUC and watching the other contestants do the top 5 question, I remember thinking, holy, this is unreal.
It was tough.
And it was tough. And like after, I had to follow up Nova. So I remember standing behind her and listening to her and just thinking, like, yeah, like, oh, yes to everything you're saying. And just thinking, wow, like that was amazing. you answered so well. You are a queen. And then I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's my turn and I'm not ready. So
because instead of preparing, you were just cheering her on. But
yes,
I think
and then the same thing as once my turn was over, I just thought to myself, like, I got to listen to everyone else. I was like, oh my goodness, you're amazing.
You're like, what did I just say? No, I think, top 5 for Miss Universe Canada was very intense. Like, I think there were so many strong competitors, and I think that you all did amazing. And regardless of where you placed, I think you all are going to represent Canada in your respective competitions really well. So I do hope that you get to go to China, or if they choose to do it virtually, hopefully, you'll be able to compete again.
Yeah, I also hope I get to go, but we'll see. These are difficult times, and nothing is certain.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, you mentioned earlier that you do pageant coaching, and so if people wanted to follow you on social media, where can they do that?
So mostly I've got Instagram. That's kind of my main way for people to follow me. It's just my name, Samantha Fraughton. And my profile picture, I've got my hair slicked back, which is something I love to do with my hair. So that's my profile picture and account. I post lots of things about pageants and about modeling. So that's I would say the best place to follow what I'm up to.
Awesome. And for all of those who are curious and want to follow Samantha, the link is in the description below. So make sure you go follow her after today's show. You mentioned your hair. You mentioned you love having it slicked back. But what people don't know is behind the scenes, you curled your hair in less than 10 minutes. That is very impressive.
And I'm hoping that it's looking okay right now on camera.
It's great.
I have this track record of crowns being uneven at important times when crowns should not be uneven. So I'm hoping that my hair looks good. I'm hoping my crown is straight.
It is. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
But I was just so impressed to see you. You're like, oh, do I have time? Yeah, you have 10 minutes. I didn't think you could do it, but you did, and I'm impressed. And with your crown, of course, it is beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you. I normally compete. I mean, Regine knows we've competed together. I normally have 2 sets of extensions that I clip in my hair. I've got 14 pieces of fake hair. I just love to have a lot of it because my own is not super gifted. There are just hairs on my head, but it's grown quite long in COVID, so I figured I would give it a whirl and just rock the natural hair today instead of putting it on.
Well, I think you look amazing, and we're in this world of COVID. How are you coping? In the beginning of COVID, you were full force pageant mode. How has it been since MUC?
Well, I'm lucky that I have a ton of hobbies. A lot of pretty intense hobbies. So I'm focusing on school right now since I'm coming down the home stretch. I have a lot of lengthy term papers that are due very soon. But other than that, I moved in September into this beautiful historic house that I'm in right now. I'm renting. And so just trying to get this house set up, and I guess we're doing a little bit of low-key restoration work. We're talking about maybe stripping some paint off of the mantle just to expose the beautiful wood, which is original. So just kind of trying to settle into this beautiful house. And I also play piano, so I've been trying to stay sane, playing a little bit of piano in between school. It's just a good different kind of way to focus, I guess. It's a different sort of focus than say reading or typing something. It's different to play music.
That's awesome. Media and the news. It seems like Alberta's a little bit more open. How is it over there in terms of cases and COVID?
Yeah, it is a little bit more open. I mean, cases are high. Cases are definitely high. So that's not ideal. But we've got restaurants open with some pretty intense restrictions, and it looks like we're going to be back to school in the fall. And I do mean like post-secondary students. So that won't apply to me. I'm hopefully going to be working in September. But it's definitely interesting. And with the weather warming up a little bit, a lot of people are outside, and we're trying to gather socially distant. I've got a really nice front yard, and we've had some friends over say, bring your own lawn chair, so yeah. Front yard. So I think we're trying to make the best of it over here, but I'm definitely ready for a vaccine. I'm ready for COVID to be behind.
Well, it's better than Ontario. We are in talks of another lockdown. So, I mean, I'm from Toronto. I haven't been up yet. So I've just been in lockdown for a year.
Holy. Yeah. So, like, what is open right now? Like, is anything open?
Well, schools are open, but they're thinking about potentially keeping Easter. Restaurants are open for takeout, and patios are open. Hair salons and all of that, they were supposed to open up in 2 weeks. Okay. But with the talks of lockdown, who knows what's going to happen.
Wow. Yeah, we've got almost all of those things that you mentioned are open here. So I guess we're lucky. Things are a little not quite as bad. That is very unfortunate.
I get so jealous when I see people from like BC and Alberta, and everything seems to be free. And then I look at the news and Ontario cases are 2,000 again. I'm like, oh great, wonderful.
Yeah. That's like my sister's in Vancouver. I know that she's done some skiing and some snowboarding, and I think to myself, I'm so jealous. I mean, I guess
right?
Go skiing or snowboarding. I could go to the mountains, but it does seem like things are quite a bit more open in BC.
100%. That's crazy. But anyways, we're here to talk pageants. So Sam, I actually had a guest on, and we were talking about your must-haves for your pageant competition, and something people don't really talk about is their pageant day emergency kit.
Okay.
I know I have witnessed it. What do you have in yours?
Okay. I'm very fortunate to have gotten a lot of tips from a very seasoned queen who gave me some good things to put in my pageant emergency kit. So I've got so many Band-Aids. You need all sizes. You need all textures. You need clear ones. You need ones that are the color of your skin. You need every kind of Band-Aid. So I've got a ton of things. I've got some polysporin just because my ears are so sensitive and oftentimes will get affected putting earrings in and out. I've got a little container of Advil because that's also very important, especially when you're running on very little sleep and you're doing all kinds of physical activity. You need to make sure that if your feet are sore, if your legs are sore, if you've got a little headache, you've got to make sure you've got something to deal with that. What else is in my kit? Oh, a needle and thread. That's another very important thing to have. Very, very important. And I think that's almost about it. Oh, no, eyelash glue and some extra eyelashes.
I love how you think you're done, but you're not.
In my head, what's in that kit? But I think that's pretty well it.
But I love the fact that you're always so prepared. You always have a steamer. I always end up borrowing yours, no matter what pageant we're doing. At MUC, we were fortunate enough to be in the same dressing room. I'm just like, what's Sam having her luggage? That was the year we had to wear a white swimsuit. So looking for Tide to Go was probably a lifesaver.
Yeah, that was crazy. I am used to being really prepared at pageants. And this past time at MUC, I felt anything but prepared. I had a bunch wrong for me, and I was without a lot of things that I needed. So I thought that I packed my little bottle of Advil, but there was only one Advil in it. And so I was really not as prepared as I thought I was, in addition to all kinds of mishaps. But I was lucky to room with Vandenberg, who had really everything I need. And then also Rosalie Mercier from Quebec. She had basically everything that Jamie didn't So I was really lucky. This was the first time that I felt super unprepared, but I had roommates that really pulled through for me. I could not have done it without those two.
That's amazing. I think that's awesome. I know, I remember you messaging me about something that you needed, and I was like, this doesn't seem like Samantha, but okay.
Yeah. We made it work, though.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think you did amazing at Canada, like I mentioned, and I hope that you are able to represent Canada again in China or any other pageant. One question: if you weren't at the age limit for many of the pageants, what would be your dream pageant to compete?
I would do Miss Universe Canada again because I want to go to Miss Universe. I think so many of us do. And for Miss World, that was kind of a while, but I think Miss Universe is more, I guess as I've grown, that's become the pageant's a little bit good to me and what I bring to the table. And that's something else that is kind of when you've competed for so long, like I have, like I started out with like one set of goals, and I started out doing pageants for a particular set of reasons, and that changed. And the kind of competitions that I was looking for has also kind of changed, and so is how I've prepared. So I remember thinking to myself after the first time I did Miss Earth Canada with you, I remember thinking I should probably Miss World, because I think pageant worked really well for me. Did and it's not that it didn't go well, because it did, but I'm sort of thinking to myself, I think Miss Universe is really what I'm at. So if I was not at the age limit, I would try one more time, because that's really the one I want to go to.
It's amazing. How many times did you do Miss Universe Canada?
Just twice. Once in 2017, I entered 11 days before the competition.
I know.
Which I don't recommend. The only reason that I want to do it was I wanted to do it for so many reasons. I wanted to do it that time because I have a huge pageant wardrobe. I had everything I needed, and I thought to myself, I can't. But just because you can't. So.
But you did, and you did amazing.
Sorry, what's that?
I said, but you did, and you did amazing.
I did. I should have prepared much more than I did, but the second time I came in with a lot more preparation behind me. So yeah, 2 times at MUC.
So you did Miss Earth Canada twice, Miss Universe Canada twice.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Well, I just think that you've had such a success in your pageant journey, and I know this is just the beginning for you. So I'm really excited to continue to see where it takes you. And again, thank you. For all of those who are watching, make sure you follow Samantha's journey, because she's not done. She posts a lot of amazing photos on her Instagram, so make sure you follow her. Girl, photos are amazing. Like everyone that you've posted, I think every time I see it, it's like, oh, she's so pretty.
Thank you. It's been a really good year of modeling for me. Not 2020, but 2019 was a really, really good year for me. I shot a campaign for this just like little lighted makeup company called Fancy. They make really good stuff. They've got an office in Edmonton and then one in New York. And they ended up running the ad in Vogue.
On Vogue?
In Vogue, yeah, in Vogue magazine. I almost couldn't believe it when I got the email saying purchased ad space in Vogue. Like I didn't know what to do. Like I thought, like, is this real? Is this really happening? And, so I've had a really good year of modeling. That was definitely like a career for me. I never thought I'd be in Vogue as primarily a commercial model. I mean, I'm 28. I'm not walking the runways in Milan. So that was definitely like a very special moment for me.
Well, because earlier you mentioned that you were always interested in modeling. You didn't think that it would happen for you, and here you are in Vogue. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, it's so funny how that happened. I've been really, really lucky. I started modeling quite a bit later in life. Didn't actually start until I was 23, and I got scouted completely by accident. I went to an event with and I mostly went for morals. I mostly went because I thought that she was going to get scouted for sure. And then they offered me a callback, and I thought, this can't be real. This is absolutely not for me. Like, who is behind me in the lineup? Like, is this meant for somebody else? And I've just had, like, I'm with such a good agency that has believed in me right from the beginning. And I sort of didn't quite fit into their divisions the way that they thought I would, the way that they wanted me to. But I've had a lot of success at Edmonton and Calgary, and I've definitely like enjoyed modeling. And I think part of the success is that I've done it commercially as opposed to like fashion, and also that it started when I'm a little bit older. I don't think I would have had as much success if it wasn't for those two things for me.
I think you lost in modeling, regardless of what age you were. I mean, it's so crazy to just hear you say earlier that you never thought you wanted to, and now you're saying you didn't think you'd make it, but I'm still in awe that you've made it to Vogue. So I think that's amazing. So Sam, we're going to start wrapping things up, but I'm just curious to know what's next for you.
In life is definitely going to be graduating law school in short order and starting my articles so I can be a lawyer. And pageant, I'm waiting to find out about tourism. That's going to be kind of the next thing on the agenda for me. Yeah, I guess that's it. Next pageant step is hopefully international, and the next life step is hopefully being a lawyer.
Awesome. Have you ever competed internationally?
No, I had the chance once, but I had to turn it down due to life circumstances. I've never had the chance, and to finish on this high note and get the chance to finally go international would be really exciting.
That is amazing. I'm rooting for you. I know you're going to be representative of Canada, and I know that you've really embraced the country and what it stands for, so I'm so excited for you. I'm just excited, it's so nice to see people who I've kind of grown up with in the pageant world to just see where they end up in life. Like, I know some people, they end up doing TV, some of them just pageants anymore, and then there's people like you who continue until there's no pageants to do. So I'm excited to see.
Do them all.
Exactly. Why not? Any multi-divisional pageants now. There's Mrs. Pageants, Ms. Pageants. I know you're not done.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done at all.
No, but I'm really excited for you. So Samantha, if people wanted, again, to find you, the best place is Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is the best place, and it's just my first name and my last name, Samantha Fraughton.
Perfect. And like I mentioned, as we start to wrap things up, is there any last things that you might want to tell our viewers?
I think something that I often say in pageant interviews that I think needs to be said is a lot of discussion about whether pageants are empowering or whether they're oppressive, and that's like a really interesting conversation. And something that I always say is pageants have the capacity to be both. It can really swing either depending on how you let the experience work for you or not work for you. And I think that as a woman, like navigating the world of being a woman, pageants helped me make sense of who I am and who I want to be and what matters to me. And if there's in my very humble opinion, there's no better way to learn those things for yourself than to try a pageant even just once.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. I think we're going to end it off there because that was an amazing note. So again, Samantha, thank you so much for joining me today. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having guest number 20 on the show. Didn't think I'd get to 20 this fast, but
I did. I knew you would.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful to have you on the show. I'm glad that we made it work. I know that you have a very busy schedule, and I'm just hoping you have all the best of luck in the end, maybe not the end of your loss, and same with preparations for the international pageant.
Thank you.
To all of you who are watching, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm so grateful to have you all here. If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And as you all know, I do go live every Monday and one down. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to continue watching. Samantha, again, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I do hope that COVID starts to clear up soon and I'll be able to see you in person and not just virtually one day.
Yes, that was so wonderful. I could think of nothing better.
Thanks for watching. Have an amazing morning wherever in the world you are and whatever time you're watching this video. Again, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you all on Monday. Bye.